Hi and welcome to Sims Racing. To the surprise of many, game developer studio Kiloton Racing and publisher Nakon released a demo of their upcoming WRC 10 title. It was only available for a week just to give the players a taste of what's to come. My intention was to start with a short overview of the latest WRC 10 news followed by an analysis. Whilst editing I realized that the news update segment was already about 10 minutes long, so I decided to give it its own video. The WRC 10 demo deep dive will be available a bit later on, because it still needs a lot of work. I hope you are ready and strapped in, because this is the WRC 10 news update. Right, so what's new with WRC 10 since the update I gave in my Croatia analysis? Link to that video in the description down below, by the way, if you haven't seen it yet. Well, firstly, the developer/publisher released another gameplay trailer focusing on the Acropolis location, which is very similar to what they did with the Croatia one. Pretty much everything I discussed in the analysis video of the latter applies to this one. My biggest concerns still remain, especially when it comes to 3D model textures and audio and sound quality. The in-game engine sound of the classic cars is still missing, however the sound of the current spec WRC cars in this trailer seem to be from the game itself. And I must admit I'm far from impressed by both the 3D models and audio, something I'll definitely get back to in the deep dive section. What else is new? Well, we now have a complete list of the classic cars, although I did find some irregularities in there. All of the classic and bonus cars from WRC 9 will be in WRC 10 from launch, with the exception of the VW Polo RWRC. So this includes the Lancia Fulvia HF, the Alpine Renault A110 Berlinette, the Lancia Stratos, Ford Escort Mark II RS 1800, the Lancia Rally 037, the Lancia Delta HF Integrale Evoluzione, the Toyota Corolla WRC, Citroën Zara WRC, Ford Focus RS WRC from 2007, the Citroën C3 WRC, the Toyota Yaris concept car, the Porsche 911 GT3 RGT and the Proton Iris R5. In almost every article I found that provided a full list, the Citroën C3 WRC is never mentioned though. However, on this image you can clearly see that the car will be in game. The new additions to the franchise are the Fiat 131 Abarth, the Audi Sport Quattro A2, the Peugeot 205 T16 Evo 1 and 2, the Toyota Celica GT4 ST185, the Mitsubishi Lancer Evo 5 Group A, the Subaru Impreza S3 WRC from 97, the Citroën DS3 WRC from 2011, and the Ford Fiesta WRC from 2017. The articles I mentioned earlier also add the Audi Sport Quattro A1 to the list, but I suspect it's just going to be the A1 livery on the A2 car. If they were both in, the total number of cars wouldn't be correct. I also have a news update on the locations thanks to an article from GTPlanet. Unfortunately, the developers won't be able to finish them all in time, so some of them won't make it into the game from launch. On day 1 you'll have the opportunity to drive in 12 of them, which are Monte Carlo, Sweden, Croatia, Portugal, Sardinia, Kenya, Estonia, Chile, Wales, Finland, Spain and Japan. The Acropolis Rally and the one I've been waiting for such a long time, the Wipers Rally, will be added to the list in a free update post-launch. With the historic rally events we see something similar. Monte Carlo, Sweden, Kenya, Greece, Spain and San Remo will be in there from launch, but Portugal, Finland, Argentina, Germany and Mexico are also delayed. There is no information about those post-launch releases, so it could be weeks or even months. In the end we'll have a total of 19 different locations and over 120 stages. That sounds like a lot, which it is, but keep in mind that it's not over 120 completely different stages. I've seen the list of stages for Spain and Estonia and each will have 8, following a similar pattern to Dirt Rally 2.0. The first one is a shakedown, which will be a section of one of the short stages, just like in Dirt Rally 2.0. It's a new feature added to the game, but unlike Dirt Rally, each of the shakedowns is seen as a separate stage. Then we have 2 short stages with the option to run them in reverse, followed by a long stage, which is basically the 2 short ones put together with a reverse option as well. The final one then is a very short super special stage. Apart from the final stage, it is structured exactly the same as Dirt Rally 2.0. To put it in other words, the developers designed one unique long stage, which was then cut in half and also reversed. Now there are locations that have more than 8 stages, which include those very long ones of 20 kilometers or more. Croatia is one of them and has 11 stages in total. The first one being the shakedown, then you have 3 short stages you can run both ways, followed by a long one which is again 2 short stages linked together with a reverse option. And finally we have the very long stage which can also be run in reverse. I haven't seen the map of that stage yet, but based on my calculations it's most likely going to be the 3 short stages put together. I can't be 100% certain about this, but it's highly likely. So as with Spain and Estonia, it looks like the developers designed one unique mega stage that was then divided up into 3 pieces and reversed. Now this provides me with a nice opportunity to compare WRC 10 with Dirt Rally 2.0. For a very long time people have been complaining that Dirt Rally doesn't have enough or as many stages or as many unique stages as the WRC titles. And when I read a comment like that, I always find it very odd because the numbers don't actually reflect that. When it comes to the number of stages, Dirt Rally 2.0 has 182 and WRC 10 will have roughly between 120 and 130. Now I did include the shakedowns and rallycross tracks for Dirt Rally 2.0 because we have a similar counterpart added to the number in WRC 10. Looking at the number of unique stages, Dirt Rally 2.0 has 39, 26 for rally. WRC 10 will have roughly between 19 and 25. The number of locations in Dirt Rally 2.0 is set at 13, 26 if we add the rallycross tracks, and 19 in WRC 10. So based on these numbers alone, WRC 10 is only ahead of Dirt Rally when it comes to the number of unique locations. Now whilst I was looking over those numbers for WRC 10, my puny little brain raised another valid question. How many unique stages will each of the historic rally events have? So I decided to do some mathematics. We know there are 14 regular non-historic event locations, and I would expect each of them to have a minimum of 8 stages and a maximum of 11, which means 9.5 stages on average. However, I do suspect most locations will have 8, so let's go ahead and drop that average to just 9. 9 times 14 equals 126. Can you already guess where I'm going with this? We know there are over 120 stages, but most likely not more than 130, otherwise they would have said over 130 stages, right? What this means is that there is only room for 4 new and unique stages in the historic rally events. So, what possible conclusions can we draw from this? Well, all the historic rally event locations will use one or multiple stages from the regular locations, and the new additions San Remo, Germany, Argentina and Mexico will each have 1 stage. I know this is just a rough estimate, but I don't believe I'll be far off, which means that some will be disappointed by this. Staying with locations for just a bit longer, I was able to find an image of the stages used for the historic rally event in Monte Carlo. If you are familiar with WRC 9 or even WRC 8, you will immediately recognize the Anière en Dévoluy stage. Using stages from previous games is not at all uncommon, as we are all aware of, but I do worry that the developers might, for lack of a better word, recycle too much content from their older titles. Dirt Rally 2.0 did the same by extensively updating the locations from the first Dirt Rally to eventually sell them as DLC for Dirt Rally 2.0. And I know some of you will already be scrolling down to write a comment about the fact that recycling content for the base game is completely different from selling it as DLC afterwards. But hold your horses for just a second, because you might want to hear what's coming next. Yes, the DLC move by Codemasters for Dirt Rally 2.0 was not ideal, but it's something developers of racing games have been doing long before that. And besides, I would take a base game that's full of new stuff with the option to pay for revised content afterwards, over having a recycled game with all new content as DLC. Now this brings me neatly to my next piece of update or speculation, because there is another source I came across, link below, that contains some very interesting information. One person went data mining, which means searching for some hidden clues in the game's code, and he found out that there might well be quite a lot of DLC content coming to WRC 10 in the form of cars and locations or stages. None of this is confirmed in any way and could be completely false, but it's in the code and it does give us a sneak peek of what might possibly be added to the game. Amongst the cars are some very interesting classics we barely ever see in rally titles, the most notable ones being the Ford Escort WRC from the late 90s, the Lancia Beta Coupe, the Mazda RX-7, the Mercedes-Benz 450 SLC, which has a fantastic engine sound in real life, the Mitsubishi Galant VR4, the Nissan 240 RS, the Nissan Pulsar GTI R, the Renault 11 Turbo and the Talbot Sunbeam Lotus. Furthermore, some of my favorite WRC cars from the 2000s are on there as well, such as the Peugeot 307, the Seat Cordoba, hopefully the Evo 3, the Subaru Impreza S9 from 2003, and the Subaru Impreza S12B, better known as the Hawkeye. There are plenty more cars on that list, and it'll be interesting to see if any of them see the light of day. Again, none of them are confirmed in any way, shape or form, but were discovered by someone data mining. The final bit of new information I discovered concerns the livery editor. In my previous video I said that it would probably be a basic one where you'll be able to choose from a set number of patterns, pick the color, and then select the sponsor, which would appear in a predetermined spot on the car. However, according to Kiloton, it's not going to work like that, and for once I'm delighted to be wrong. They said that you won't just be able to place shapes, decals and brands on the car, but also create your own decals by grouping shapes and so on in a decal or sticker editor. Honestly, that sounds fantastic, and as a designer myself, I'm curious to know how wild we will be able to go when it comes to livery customization. So that's the WRC 10 news update wrapped up. If you enjoyed this video, feel free to give it a like. If you want to enjoy more of our content, consider subscribing and clicking that notification bell. It would be much appreciated, as this helps out the channel quite a lot. Thank you once again for watching, good luck and goodbye.